Shadows Beneath the Red Banner. Chapter 1. Ashes in the Valley. The smoke never left Orgrimmar. It clung to the city's jagged towers like a curse, staining the red sky above the Valley of Strength. Coal fires from the foundries mixed with the smell of sweat, blood, and iron until breathing itself became work. Massive Kor'kron patrols marched through the streets in polished black armor, their boots striking the stone with perfect rhythm. Under Garrosh Hellscream, the Horde had become louder, harder, crueler. For some it was glorious, for others it was a prison. The family lived where the city forgot itself. A narrow hut leaned against the cliff separating the Valley of Spirits from the Drag. Its walls were patched with mismatched lumber salvaged from abandoned carts, and rainwater leaked through its roof whenever the desert storms reached the canyon. Inside, 4 Darkspear trolls shared everything, hope included. Vol'jin had once promised that joining the Horde would mean a future. Now that future had begun to rot. Rokhani woke before dawn, not because he wanted to, because hunger did. His ribs pressed sharply against his weathered blue skin as he rose from a thin woven mat. He moved carefully, so he would not wake the others. Across the room, his wife slept sitting upright against the wall. Lashka's hand still clutched a half-finished fishing net she'd been repairing until exhaustion claimed her. Years ago, those hands had painted ceremonial masks on the Echo Isles. Now they were cracked from hauling ore for orc overseers. Nearby lay their children. 17-year-old Taza slept with an old spear held against his chest. His younger sister Ziri, barely 11, curled beneath a faded raptor-hide blanket, clutching a tiny carved frog no bigger than her palm. Their youngest, little Jeku, only 6. Too young to remember the Echo Isles, too young to understand why people hated him. Rokhani stepped outside. Morning had barely begun. Kor'kron guards already filled the streets. Most ignored him. One did not. Move faster, troll. The voice came before the shove. An enormous orc slammed his shoulder into Rokhani hard enough to send him stumbling into the dust. The Kor'kron laughed. Your people always stand around. Rokhani lowered his eyes. I'm moving. Didn't ask for excuses. The guard kicked over a small basket beside the doorway. 2 onions, a loaf of stale bread. Everything Lashka had managed to barter yesterday spilled into the dirt. The orc simply walked away. His companions laughed. No one stopped them. No one even looked surprised. Rokhani knelt silently, brushing dirt from the onions. One had split open. He picked it up anyway. Waste was a luxury. The labor yard sat beneath the western cliffs. Hundreds of workers gathered there every morning. Orcs stood at the front, Taran behind them, then goblins, then trolls, always trolls. A Kor'kron officer walked down the line. You! He pointed at an elderly troll. You're too slow! The old man bowed. I can still. The officer struck him across the face with the butt of his axe. I wasn't asking. The troll collapsed. Nobody moved. Nobody dared. The officer continued walking. You! He pointed at Rokhani. You're replacing him. Rokhani nodded once. No anger, no protest. He simply stepped forward. That was how survival worked now. The quarry echoed with hammer strikes all day. Stone dust filled every breath. The workers received water only twice. Food once. Anyone caught resting lost tomorrow's ration. Rokhani worked beside an elderly Tauren, whose wrist bore fresh bruises from iron shackles. Neither spoke. Words required strength. By midday, another worker collapsed. A young troll, perhaps 19. The overseer approached. Lazy, the troll tried standing. His legs failed him. I can't. The Kor'kron captain didn't answer. His boot came down on the troll's hand. Bones cracked. The scream echoed through the quarry. No healer came. The captain simply shouted, "Drag him out." 2 goblins carried the young troll away like broken equipment. Work resumed. With When the sun finally disappeared behind the canyon walls, Rokhani limped home. His hands bled. His shoulders shook. Yet he forced himself to smile before opening the door. Children deserve smiles, even borrowed ones. Inside, Lashka stirred a pot over the fire. It smelled mostly of water. There were 3 mushrooms, 1 onion, a handful of dried cactus root. She looked up. "You got paid?" He quietly opened his empty hands. She nodded. She had expected that answer. "They say next week." "They always say next week," silence answered. Jeku ran into his father's arms. "Baba!" Rokhani winced as tiny arms squeezed bruised ribs. He hugged the boy anyway. "What did you learn today?" Jeku grinned. "I counted to 20. 20? Mama says that means I'm almost grown." Rokhani laughed softly. "Ain't nobody want that." The little troll frowned. "I do." "No." He kissed the child's forehead. "Stay little." Little meant innocent. Little meant hope. Dinner disappeared quickly. Not because it was delicious, because there wasn't enough. Lashka quietly pushed half her bowl toward Jeku. Taza noticed. So did Rokhani. Neither said anything. Parents always claimed they weren't hungry. Children pretended to believe them. Later that evening, Taza returned from running errands through the Valley of Honor. His jaw was swollen, one eye already darkening. Lashka rushed toward him. "What happened?" He hesitated. "Nothing." Rokhani looked at him. "Taza." The young troll sighed. "Some orcs." "What did you say to them?" "Nothing. They hit you for nothing. They said trolls don't belong in Orgrimmar." Silence filled the room. Ziri stared into her bowl. Jeku looked confused. "But," the little boy frowned, "we're Horde." Nobody answered. Hours later, after the children slept, Rokhani sat outside beneath the stars. The city never truly became quiet. Hammers still rang. Soldiers still marched. Somewhere, wolves howled. Lashka joined him. She wrapped an old blanket around both their shoulders. "They're changing." He nodded. "No." She looked toward Grommash Hold. They already changed. Far across the city, banners bearing Garrosh's black symbol fluttered above the fortress. The old Horde colors had begun disappearing, along with old promises. Rokhani stared toward the distant Valley of Wisdom, where the Darkspear district lay. It seemed smaller every month. "They don't see us anymore," he whispered. Lashka shook her head. "They see us." Her voice broke. "That be the problem." Far above the city, thunder rolled across a cloudless sky. Neither troll noticed, neither could know that far away in the jungles of Echo Isles, whispers of rebellion were already beginning to spread. Soon the Horde would be forced to choose what it truly was. But tonight, it was only one hungry family, trying to survive one more day beneath a banner that no longer felt like their own.